Hey everybody, International Carl doing another video for you as always. If this is your first time to my channel, I typically do videos about travel, vlogs like that, my lifestyle, places I'm going, things that I'm doing. However, this is a special video because unfortunately I keep getting asked this question by a lot of people, some of my friends, some of my relatives, and people on the channel. Just want to know my opinion about what's going on in the world. So unless you've been living under a rock for the last 2 weeks, you already know what's going on in the world right now here in Europe. So I'm going to try, because as I tell all my followers or my people who watch my channel regularly, I'm not a political channel. I try not to be political, but I just can't avoid talking about this subject. So, war in Europe. What does an American feel? What is it like? What are my opinions? What are my thoughts? So if this is something that's interesting you, let's get into it right about now. Thank you for stopping by. My name is International Carl. Please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Thank you. Now let's get back to the video. So what's been going on with this part of the world? Hopefully my finger's at the right place. But, Ukraine, Russia, what's been going on? As an American, there's war in Europe. So what does that mean for me? What are my thoughts? What am I doing? How am I going to survive? What are my plans? And I'm going to talk about that. So I want to really get into it. What's going on? We all know, we've been reading the news. Russia has invaded Ukraine. That's just what's going on. But according to Russia, they're doing a special operation to denazify a Jewish-led country with a Jewish-led president. They're trying to denazify it. Whatever. If you believe that garbage, I have beachfront property on the moon I can sell you. But I want to talk about it because there's several ways I can look at it. And, let's try to look at it from Russia's point of view. If I'm Russia, what do I see? I see NATO surrounding me from Estonia all the way down to now Ukraine trying to enter in. Now, think about it, how they feel. Well, if they're looking at it, it's NATO is a defensive army or military against the East or against Russia. And so for them, they're looking at it like, hey, look at that. You're going to be right on my borders. I'm not going to have that. So I can partly, and I mean partly, understand what Russia or Putin is looking at and why he's a bit defensive. Now, do I think the means of which he's going about it is right? No, no way, 100% negative, no. Don't support it, 100% don't support it. Now, let's think about it from America's point of view. I'm an American, I'm living here. Russia, China, these are some of our biggest foes, I guess we'd say, frenemies, so these are the biggest adversaries we have on the world stage. And so I had this debate earlier today in one of my videos when we were talking about it was, how would America feel if Russia and India and China and all these other kind of Eastern countries, I guess we'll call it that for lack of a better term, formed an alliance. And they had the bright idea to put missiles in Cuba. Well, they tried that in 1960 with the USSR. And you already know America was like, if you cross this line in the middle of the ocean, we're going to war. So you see how you can see where Russia can get into where they're thinking like this and why they're concerned about it? So if you really think about it, America wouldn't tolerate missiles in Cuba. So why in the world would Russia tolerate missiles in Ukraine? That's one way to look at it. And so, is Russia justified? No, that's very clear and obvious. They're not justified because from a Western point of view, they should have the ability to choose their destiny. Do they want to face to Russia? Do they want to face to Europe? Do they want to stay neutral? That's their choice, and that should be the people's choice, and that's what they want to do. However, Russia won't tolerate it. So that's a decision they need to solve by themselves. Now, as an American, am I worried about war in Europe? World War III, as they say. Is it starting? Is it upon us? Is it about to happen? That's really kind of the $1,000,000 question. War in Europe, and how am I preparing for it? Am I worried about it? What kind of steps am I taking? What kind of precautions am I taking? What am I going to do if war actually happens here in mainland Europe and actually gets close to the UK? What am I going to do? Well, as I told some of my buddies in one of my WhatsApp group, that this isn't my fight as an American. So I would actually leave. I'd go back to America. It's not my fight. It's not my battle. Because I'm not from this country. I live here indefinitely, I have indefinite leave to remain, but I'm not a British passport holder. I'm not a citizen of this country. So it's not my war. It wouldn't be my battle to fight. Now, that might change here in the future because I'm highly considering getting dual citizenship. So my thoughts on that is very nuanced, because if I'm a dual citizen, if I become a dual citizen, then it is my country and it is my fight. So it is my responsibility to stay and fight if I'm going to call myself British. And this is something that I got into the discussion with some of my former work colleagues in the WhatsApp group. We were talking about it, and I said, look, if you're going to be British, whether you're British Indian, British of Arabic, Middle Eastern background, British Caribbean, whatever that is, if you're British, you can't leave and not fight. This is your fight. If the fight came here, you got to fight. You can't leave it up to the white British people to fight, because when there is peacetime, everybody says, hey, I'm British, treat me as British. So then you're British. You need to fight. This would be your fight. So I believe they would have to stay and fight. Simple as that. It's not very hard for me, I think, in that regard. Now, another thing that I'm doing, I have a good friend of mine in America who has a Ukrainian wife. And he's Black American Nigerian, and she's white Ukrainian. And I've met her. They're a lovely family. They got two young kids. And recently, the United Kingdom has introduced a scheme, as they use the term here, a scheme that will allow me as a private resident here to sponsor a Ukrainian citizen or family in my home. So I reached out to him and his wife, and I said, hey, if your family feels like they're in danger and they have nowhere to go, by all means, please send them my way. They have a place to come and stay here. So that's something that I'm trying to do to help out to the cause. And I hope that you consider that as well, what you could do to support. Now, when I brought this up in my WhatsApp group to some of my former coworkers who are Black, white, Muslim, Indian, all type of backgrounds, the debate came up. Well, where was all this for Syria? Where is all this for the people in Africa? Where all this for the people in Yemen? Where for all the people that are fleeing war? Because I believe firmly that people who are fleeing war have a right, by the United Nations, actually, a right to flee that war. But where was this open? So it created this debate where we were getting into this back and forth, like, okay, they're doing it for quote unquote white Ukrainians, but they won't do that for people of color in these other wars. And I said to them is, you're probably right. That is a problem. But let's address what's going on right now, and then in the future, we should be able to articulate this to the government, because everybody should be treated fairly. That's my view. Now, something else that's taken place during this conflict that's really gotten on my nerves was about the discussions of how Black, Indian, Arab people were being treated in Ukraine as they tried to flee and get to the borders of Poland and Romania, etc. So there's stories going out there that, in this day and age, that they weren't allowed to get on the train. They weren't allowed to get on the bus. When they did get on the bus or the train, they did get to the borders. Apparently, they're telling them no blacks. Go to another border. That's outrageous. It's really offensive in this modern age. It's 2022. And I still can't believe that there's some people or some countries or some border officials or somebody at the train station thinking this way and behaving this way. It's really sad. It really, really, upsets me to think that that's going on. Now, another thing about that is, if I'm in Ukraine, and I said this in another one of my videos, is that if it's women and children only, fine. As a Black man, if I was in Ukraine, women and children, let's get on the train. But some of the stories is the men are being told not to get on, the Black men, but then also the Black women are told they can't get on. So That's not good at all. So I can't support that. And I hope that they iron that out and fix that. So, you know, what am I, am I worried? Am I scared about war in Europe? Not really, not at the moment. What my plan is, if it was to kick off, I likely would leave and go back to America. If I was a British citizen, I definitely would stay, and I would encourage anybody to stay and to fight. I don't want to die like the next man. But if I want to consider myself British, which I don't at the moment, but I might change in the future, then it's my fight and it's my battle. And I have a duty to stay and try to protect and fight for this country if I had to. I'm hoping World War III doesn't happen. I'm hoping we don't get bogged down in some quagmire. I'm hoping this doesn't escalate even further than where it is now today. So those are really my thoughts. I tried to get into it. I tried to kind of dodge it because I don't want to get too political. As I said, I'm not a political channel. I just thought I would share on the open platform for future generations and for anybody that looks back, like, what was I doing when all this took place? I've opened up my home. I've offered to one of my friend's family that I would accept any and all of his family members to come to my house and I would sponsor them, no problem. And I don't think that this is a justified cause that Putin is going after. Now, there's all these oligarchs, there's all these sanctions that are going on. That's another topic that's really in a gray area for me, and I'm not sure how that happens in the Western world. But I want to save that for another topic. And so if you can, if you've made it this far in the video, drop me in the comments. Tell me what your thoughts is on what's going on. Are you worried? Are you scared? And also, do you think you might sponsor a Ukrainian refugee? Let me know. What are your thoughts? Good thing to do? Something they should have done for everybody in Syria, for example? I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are. So I'm going to sign this video off before it gets too long. And I'm going to say, click right here to subscribe to the channel. Click right here. Hopefully I'm pointing in the right place to watch another one of my videos if you haven't already. And like always, I will see you on the next video. Peace.